Hello and welcome to Bitsbox World, builds made easy. So what I'm looking at today is making some base adapters for your Warhammer Fantasy armies of old, getting them ready for the Warhammer Old World that has been released by Games Workshop. I've got two different types of adapters here, one with segregation and one that doesn't. The segregated ones will fit your 20mm models really nice and easily. They fit in and stand up well, whereas the one without segregation, that also will accommodate them, but it will also accommodate other models like trolls or croxigors, for example. So these are really handy, really easy to make, and as you can see, I'm using magnets as well to make sure they don't fall out. I'll be focusing on infantry to start off with and doing some videos for your knights in future. So what you'll need for these adapters is some plywood. You can buy these in sheets of A4 and they're 1mm thick is the size that I like, easy to cut. I've got also this is rubber steel, so this can be used to magnetize your models, and on the back I've got some adhesive there, so it's an adhesive backed steel. And then I've got these sticks here. These sticks are 3mm wide, and these are going to be what we're going to be using to segregate. For this build, you'll need a knife. So I've got this handy craft knife here with the extension out of there. I like a steel ruler as well. This helps with cutting your straight angles, measurements, all of that. And also because it's steel, you're not going to cut into it with your knife. Last thing, you'll need some super glue. I've just bought a pack of super glue from the pound shop. You get sort of 5 for £1 and really handy. When you're ready to start building, you want to get your plywood and make sure that you've got the most right angled sides that you're going to make your measurements from. You can then measure out so you're ready to cut the right size for your base. And I'm going to measure out a 12.5 centimeter section to cut. That would accommodate 5 of the old fantasy models infantry onto our new base. So 12.5 centimeters will accommodate 5 infantry. I'm also going to measure 5 centimeters across as well. So I'm going to do 2 ranks of 5 infantry soldiers and have them in a line so I can have 10 soldiers in total ready for my battle, ready for my old world. So I'm just measuring out 5 centimeters, and then I will just make sure that I've got a nice clear line so I can cut this plywood. Now this plywood does cut relatively easy with a Stanley knife. You just need to put a bit of pressure. Because it's only 1mm, it's quite easy to cut through. And with the old worlds, obviously they've got lots of different base sizes for the models that are going to be accommodated in old worlds, and most of the infantry has been increased from 20mm to 25mm. So we will need to either do two things: remove your old fantasy models from their bases, which is really messy. You can damage the models, you can split their bases or break their feet or things like that. It just takes a bit of effort. Or we can use these new adapters, and that also allows you to use your fantasy models with the old fantasy rules, but then also use them in the old world with the new rules coming out. So I am making these adapters for my high elf army. I've got some sword masters here, 10 freshly painted, ready for the old world, and I'm going to be using these adapters so they can fight ready in the battles. So I'm going to section out just the center here so I can see where I need to start sticking my sticks to make sure that they fit all of my models. So I'm going dead center here, 25mm or 2.5 centimeters from the 5 centimeter across. I can score this off and that just helps me to know where my guys are going to fit. And then I want to make sure that I've got the segregations all set up as well. So if I go 25mm or 2.5 centimeters across, that will accommodate the 5 troops in a row, and then 5 behind as well. And you do this for both sides, and then we're going to do some nice lines across. So this is relatively cheap, what I'm doing. The plywood sheets, they came in A4 size, and I got 10 of them for about £4, £4. So I can build a lot of these bases. And then the sticks as well, I got 50 sticks that were 30 centimeters long. They're square sticks, and they were about £4 as well. And then the rubber adhesive steel sheeting, that came in a pack of 5 in an A4 size, really easy to cut, and that cost about £4 as well. And then I'll just make sure I'll grab a couple of guys, grab a couple of saw masters, and you can see the difference in the size of the base there, and they should fit nicely on. So with the adhesive steel sheeting, rubber sheeting here, you want to peel off the back and stick it over. And obviously we've segregated out that step there, and we're now just going to put the sheeting over it. So what I've done is I've marked on the edge of the plyboard where those edges were, the middle sections and also the cross sections as well. So push down the sheeting so it's all nice and flat. And then if you've got any overhang, you can just trim this off by running the knife down the edge. And it cuts really easily, really nicely. I'm now going to start using my sticks to create the edges of my new adapters. So I cut some lengths earlier, so I've got a sort of template of what I need to do if I want to mass produce these adapters. So I can use my template and I can score against my 30 centimeter 3mm stick, and then it gives me a nice edge to be able to cut against. So when cutting these, you can do it with a Stanley knife because they're only 3mm wide. It's really quite easy to cut, and what you want to do is just apply a bit of pressure, and then if you twist the stick round to another side, you can do a slice all the way through, and then it just very easily cuts in half. If there's any flash on the end or it's not quite straight, you can clean it up with a Stanley knife. Obviously, be very mindful not to cut your hand. So we're just going to section out all of the bits that we need. So depending on what type of adapter you want to make, you would just need to cut enough pieces of wood to make the variant. So if you're making the one with the clear center, you just need 4 cuts essentially. You need 2 long lengths and 2 short lengths for the ends. But I'm going to be making one with the 20mm squares, so I can put my 20mm guys in there so they can sit nicely in the sectioned off. So I'm going to have to do 8 little pieces here because I need 8 pieces to make the relative squares. As I said earlier, it's really good to have some previously cut pieces just set aside to one side so you can do these whenever you like. You can come back to them and use your templates. So I've got a template for the base, I've got a template for my sticks, and it just allows me to create these adapters nice and quickly next time I want to do them. And I like units of 10, but you can do this multiple times over. So for my High Elf Spearman, for example, I've got a unit of 40, so I'll be making quite a big adapter for that unit. Let me know what you are doing with your fantasy models from the past. How are you getting them ready for the old world? Are you using adapters? Are you rebasing them? How have you got over the base difference disparity? Let me know in the comments below. So once you've made all your cuts, you should have all of the relevant bits of wood ready to start gluing. And what I do is I just run a bead of super glue down one edge, and then I can start to stick this together. With the super glue, if you get quick drying super glue, that will help you out and speed up the process. With this pound shop super glue, it is quick drying, but you do need to hold it for sort of 15-20 seconds. And then when one piece is dry, you can move on and start gluing the rest of the sticks to create your adapter. As you can see with my longer piece, I like to have this just a little bit shorter so it butts up against the end piece. That just, in my view, makes it a bit more secure, a bit more sturdy, and you can glue the pieces together. And you just have an overlapping connection between the short pieces and the long pieces. So you go ahead and you'll glue everything together, and then you've got a base piece. As I'm making the segregated adapter, I'm going to be sticking in the center bit and then also the short lengths as well. Now, if you have any areas where the wood wasn't quite cut long enough, or you've got a bit of a gapping on there, that's okay, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be basing them to match up with the bases on our miniatures. So keep your eyes peeled for that video. It'll be coming soon, and I'll be just doing a bit of a show and tell with how to base your adapters so they meet and match up with your miniatures. What I'm doing here as well, I just wanted to check the space there to make sure that everything, before it's fully secure, fully glued, it all fits. So I just put a model along each section to make sure that they're fitting in nicely next to each other. And this one is working really well. All the models fit in nicely. They don't have to be forced in, and they all stand up quite well together. I'm not using my painted miniatures here. I'm just using some random Phoenix Guard that I've got unpainted, so I don't get super glue on my painted miniatures. And then you can start gluing in the little in-between sections. This then gives you a secure little square for your guys to sit in, and just makes them the correct size for when you are playing the old world. Now, I do use just a random bit of wood here just to make sure that it's all fitting correctly, fitting nicely and looking square, and then you can do all of the other pieces. Once you've completed it, wait for it to dry, and then you've got a completed adapter. Two different styles, as I mentioned before, two different purposes, but they can also do the same purpose. And then you want to prepare your guys with some magnets. So I've got these little 3mm magnets which I'm gluing on the bottom of my miniatures, and that just helps them to stick to or magnetize to the adapter. This makes them very sturdy when you're moving them around in a battlefield. They won't fall off, and there's nothing worse than when you're doing a battle and you crash your units together. They're in the thick and heat of the fight, and all your guys fall down as though dead before you even rolled a dice. So I've had many a time of frustration picking up my miniatures and making sure that they are on their movement trays again. This way just helps them to stand, keeps them secure, And as you can see, I can even pick this up and rotate the models and they won't fall off. I can go all the way over and they would just stand there secure. I'd like to think that that will help me also win a few battles, because my guys aren't going to fall over dead before I've even got into the fight. And let me know what you thought about this adapter build. It's a relatively cheap and easy way to get your guys ready for the old world. What are you doing for the old world? Are you hacking them off their bases and rebasing them? Or are you looking for a simple way to make your guys battle ready, but then also having the ability to drop back into the old fantasy rules as well? I like to have the versatility and the ability to do both. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching Bits Bots World, Builds Made Easy.